Hello everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and welcome to Bugathon 2023. I cannot believe that it has been an entire year since I decided to start the Spooky Middle Grade Readathon. This is the third round of Bugathon and I'm so excited to be co-hosting with my friends Kendall from Bookphoria and Hope from Hope on the Coast. I have so many books sitting right over here that I'm so excited to get to this week. I'm crossing my fingers that I'm going to be able to get to all of them. I also have my Happy Go Lovely Sleeves first official, Bugathon merch for this readathon. So my friend Rachel from Happy Go Lovely Sleeves got with me and said, hey, why don't we create a book sleeve for Bugathon? And I was so excited. Look at this cute little ghost kitty. If this does not scream spooky middle grade to you, I don't know what does. This could definitely be a character in a spooky middle grade novel. So the sale for these is going on through May 7th, which by the time you see this video, I'm pretty sure that's going to pass, but I hope that you snagged one of these. This is a happy corner, so essentially it is a bookmark. If you are going to read and you need to save your spot, then basically what you do is you just slide the corner on your spot and it fits like that. And I love that it's got the kitty on it. It's just like, I just love it. It's just the perfect little happy corner. So I have that, and then obviously the book sleeve, which has a pouch at the front and it holds your book. So this is a great size for spooky middle grade. It's like the medium or the midi size. It fits your book like perfectly, perfect size. So if you are traveling or if you're going anywhere and you want to put this in your purse or your travel bag, this makes sure that your book is not going to get damaged. And I love that. And then I'm going to slide this little corner right here. And I love it. I love it so much. If you've not checked out Rachel's Happy Go Lovely Sleeves shop, even if you can't get one of these at this point, I highly recommend checking out some of her other designs. They are very high quality book sleeves. I absolutely love them. I have like 3, I think, already. And I know my friends have a ton of them. So definitely check out Rachel's shop if you haven't already. Now let's go ahead and get into what I'm actually going to be reading for the readathon. So we do have 3 prompts and a buddy read. So the group buddy read is going to be What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Curry. And I'm really excited because Lindsay Curry was in our reel, and in our reel, we always do a Instagram reel that is just pumping everybody up for the readathon a week or 2 in advance. And this year we actually had Lindsay Curry be a part of it, and she's going to be a part of our book discussion, which I'm so stoked about, to just chat with her about why she writes spooky middle grade, what she loves about it, what her favorite spooky middle grade books are, and all that fun stuff. So I'm really excited to read this one. It is What Lives in the Woods, and it follows this girl whose dad is going to be working on this old manor in the woods. It takes place in Michigan, and I think there is this legend. Yeah, it says, legend says the forest is inhabited by prowling creatures with glowing eyes that prey on campers who are never seen again. There's also shadowy figures, a strange ticking sound in the walls, and a mannequin that has a mind of its own. I'm actually curious if this is the mannequin right here. I have owned this book for so long and I never noticed that there was something crawling down that curtain right there. So, and then obviously there's eyes in the woods on the cover, but I'm very excited to check this one out. Lindsay Curry is kind of a queen of spooky middle grade books. So needless to say, I'm very excited for this one. Then going into the prompts, one of the prompts is to read a book with a cat on the cover, because there are so many spooky middle grade books with cats on the cover. So I chose 2 graphic novels that I've really been meaning to get to. The first one is Bunnicula, and this is based off of the Bunnicula stories that are by James and Deborah Howe. This is very nostalgic for me. The graphic novel is new, but the story in and of itself is older, and this is just one from my childhood. So I was really excited to have the graphic novel version of this. And essentially it is about this cat and dog, and their family gets this new pet rabbit, and they are convinced that this rabbit is a vampire. So this is Bunnicula, and I just love it so much. It's a very quirky story, very light on the horror, but one that I'm really excited to get to nonetheless. Then I have Cat's Cradle by Jo Rue. This is the Golden Twine. It is the first book in the series, because the second book is The Mole King's Lair. It's right here on the back. So I'm excited to get to this one. I've had this one on my list for so long. I love the art style in this. I have read another book that Jo Rue was a artist in, I believe, but I didn't love it as much. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be a good one. This is one where she wrote the story and did the illustration. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be a good one. It sounds like a good one. And it follows a street urchin, and the street urchin believes in monsters. Like, she's always been obsessed with the legend and lore behind them. And she lives in this caravan camp. And one day this new wagon comes in and she thinks there might be a monster inside. So I'm very excited to get to this one. Then the next prompt is to read a book about something that scares you. So for that one, I'm going to be reading Disappearing House by Ali Melanenko. And the main character in this book has cancer, or she is approaching her 5-year cancer diagnosis, or the anniversary of her 5-year cancer diagnosis. And she's hoping to be declared NED, or no evidence of disease. Around this same time, she finds out that there's this house that appears at the end of her street, and she and another girl are dared to go inside. So she is going to be dealing with not only whatever the spooky thing is up here, but obviously she's going to be dealing with some like self fears and things, and obviously fears that come with her having cancer. And that is something that scares me. I think that's probably something that scares a lot of people. But as somebody who, you know, worries about, like, I don't want anything to be wrong with me health-wise. I want to try to make sure I'm the healthiest that I can be and avoid these things at all costs if possible. You never can tell. And I think it's just a scary thought that this might be a possibility for anybody. So that's definitely a real life fear for me, as it is, I think, for most people. So I think this is a good one to match that fear. So that is what I chose for about something that scares me. And then the last prompt is to read a book that features an amusement park or camp. So for this one, I chose The Circus of Stolen Dreams by Lorelei Saverin. I read her other book, The Edge of In-Between, and I loved it so much, so I knew I had to pick this one up. And this was, I think, it might have been her debut book. I don't remember, but this follows Andrea, and Andrea's brother Francis disappeared. And then one day Andrea discovers this magical dream world called Reverie, and it's in the woods near her home. So it's like this circus place, but in order for her to be admitted into the circus, she must give up a memory in order to go in. And so I think she goes in, and there's a lot of different weird stuff that goes on that is really starting to tell her this circus may be more sinister than she realizes, and her brother might actually be trapped in there. So I'm really excited to read this one. Again, I really like this author's other book, so I'm excited to check this one out. Jovi has joined me, so I guess I'm going to show her to you guys, because I feel like everybody always loves to see Jovi in my videos. Hi, baby. What you doing? She always loves to be held up because she can see out the window a little bit better, but this is my baby. So we don't have our pumpkin outfit on today, but you might see it at some point this week, and you might not. It just depends, but she's cute nonetheless. All right, so hopefully I will be able to get to all of these books this week. This is quite a bit for me to try to read in 1 week, but I'm hoping with the 2 graphic novels that'll help. And then if I can just get through the group read, then maybe I'll get to at least one of these. I don't know. I feel like it's doable, but I just kind of have to pace myself, and I am like approaching an upcoming vacation in the next few weeks, and so I've got my mind on that and a bunch of other things. So hopefully I'll be able to focus and get this stuff done. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the readathon. Okay, y'all, I am on reading sprints on Kindle's channel. We are kicking off Bugathon with this super creepy ambiance, and I'm living for it. So I'm starting off the readathon. I have not been able to read all day because I had to work. So I'm starting off the readathon with Cat's Cradle by Jo Rue. So I'm really excited to read this one. I had everybody vote in the comments whether or not I started with this one or Bunnicula. So I'm going to start with Cat's Cradle and just kind of feel good about where I'm at with starting the readathon and having something accomplished. And then I'm going to jump into What Lives in the Woods. But if y'all missed the live show, you need to go back and watch the first chatting session, because we literally talked about creepy dolls that we had as a kid, and I just really love that conversation. So definitely check that out. We started talking about things I'd never even heard of, like this thing called a wuv-wuv. If you've ever seen a wuv-wuv, I had not. They birth babies also, which was really disturbing to watch. But yeah, definitely tune in for that conversation. If you missed it, it's over on Kindle's channel. But I'm going to jump into Cat's Cradle, and I will come back and let y'all know what I think once I finish. Also, here's Jovi. Look at her face. Hi, baby. Give what the people want. They want cuteness. Okay, y'all, I am like poopty schmooped right now. I forgot to check in, but I did finish Cat's Cradle, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. I did like it, and I am planning on continuing in the series, reading the next book. I think it comes out in June. So I do want to read it. It's not like a new favorite or anything, and it's definitely more like fantasy, monstery, with like some folklore type stuff than it is like scary, but I still enjoyed it, and I really like the art style in this one, so I'm definitely going to continue in the series. And then I started our group buddy read, What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Curry, and I made it 117 pages in, so I'm like maybe almost halfway there, and I'm really enjoying this one. I think this was a great group read pick, and I think it's going to be really fun to chat with Lindsay about it on Sunday, so that's going to be really fun. This is just a good story. I'm listening to it on audio, and I do like the audio for this one. I think sometimes middle grade audiobooks are hit or miss depending on how they're narrated, because I don't always like to hear like a 12-year-old voice when I'm reading, even if it is a middle grade story. So there is that, but Jovi is trying to join me over here. Hi, Jovi. Do y'all see her? Hey, come here. Up. What are you doing, girl? Hi, welcome to the party. Hi, you're so cute. We're talking about this book. Would you like to contribute to the conversation? You think it's a good book? It smells good? Yeah, it smells good. So, anyways, I can't remember what I was saying now, but I'm glad we picked this book. It's good so far, and I'm going to keep reading it. She cracks me up. I'm very sleepy, though, so it's time for me to hit the hay, and I will read again tomorrow. So, yeah, I will check back in with y'all then. So, good night. Day 3 of Bugathon. I apologize in advance if you hear car noises or if it's a little wobbly. This is my situation for filming, so this is what we are working with. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing pretty good with my Bugathon reads. Of course, the other night you saw me go ahead and finish a couple books. Well, did I finish a couple books? I finished one book. Well, I finished What Lives in the Woods by Lindsay Curry last night. I was actually on reading sprints on Gwen's Patreon channel. If you don't subscribe to Gwen's Patreon, I highly recommend. She has a lot of fun content over there. She does a lot for her podcast, Talk Bookish to Me. And so, yeah, definitely check her out. If you haven't already, I'll go ahead and link her down below. But we did reading sprints, and I actually hopped on with her, and I finished What Lives in the Woods. And I have some thoughts, and I'm going to try to say these in the best way that I can. Okay, so this is a spooky middle grade book, and I think it very well fits the audience that's intended for it. There is an 8th grader in this story. I do feel like she felt a little younger than an 8th grader, but I do feel like if an 8th grader or a middle schooler picked this book up, they would really like it. I think as an adult, the scare factor for me wasn't enough compared to some other spooky middle grade books that I've read. And I think that I wanted a little bit more meat in the middle of the story, because I was really interested in the first little bit of the story, and then you kind of get all of the info at the end. It was like very info dumpy at the end, but throughout, to me, it just there wasn't enough clues plugged in. There wasn't enough meat plugged in. So it just kind of like wasn't my favorite in that regard. But again, for the intended audience, I think that it was good. One thing that really threw me off about it is the story is called What Lives in the Woods, and it talks about this legend of the hitchhikers that like all these campers would like camp in the woods, and these like something would happen. And that's kind of like the premise of the story, and it mentions that there's also a mannequin and shadow people and ticking noises, which is a very much like heavier part of the story, but you are assuming something's going on with these woods. I really feel like the story should have been called like What Lives in the House, like What Lives in the Manor, not What Lives in the Woods, because I still don't know what lives in the woods, and it just felt very disconnected to me in that regard. There was also a relationship that was happening throughout the book, like a preteen childhood friends that, you know, could potentially be a vacation boyfriend situation, which I can relate with because I remember when I was a kid, like I can't remember specifics, but I know myself as a kid when I would go on vacation, I might be swimming in like the hotel pool or something, and there was a cute boy. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him, but then I'd be too scared, so I would just fantasize in my head as if like we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Like I don't know, I can see that as a kid, but for me it didn't fit into the spooky middle grade story. Like everything was too cute. Like there's so many things that I'm like, oh, that's cute, like that this happened, and oh, that's cute that this is what was happening in the story. And I don't know, I just don't want to say, oh, that's cute. I want to be like, oh my gosh, like it's terrifying. But I don't know, so I have like a very refined taste for like certain spooky middle grade books, and sometimes I think that makes it hard for me to talk about books that maybe I don't enjoy as much, but that other people do. So I already know that one of my co-hosts has finished this book. I expect both of my co-hosts to like give this book 4 or 5 stars. And one of my co-hosts has already finished the book and given it 5 stars, and she absolutely loved it. And I like, that's so valid. But I think for me personally, it's gonna be like, I'm giving it a 3.5 rating on Goodreads because I feel like that's fair for the book, and I'll rate it up to 4 stars. But for me personally, my reading taste as an adult, I think it was more like it was okay for me. It wasn't like the best. I do think Lindsay Curry has an impeccable writing style. I just would like a little bit more of a spooky story with more like clues along the way to kind of be able to pinpoint what's going on. One of the things in the story was that the main character, Jenny, she really wanted to be a mystery writer, and she really admired Agatha Christie. And so there were elements of like Agatha Christie stuff being weaved throughout the story. But it just, to me, I wanted more clues throughout the story, if that makes sense, to kind of piece together. And I know this is not necessarily, this is a horror book, this isn't a mystery book, but I kind of expected like the tie-in with both to try to figure out what's going on, and there's no way I was going to know what was going on by the end of this. And then, I don't know, I feel like it just kind of happened at the end, and then it was done. I would have liked more of a build-up and more of like the pacing to be evened out, because I just felt like there was a huge chunk in the middle where we were being repetitive with like things that were going on in the house and just waiting on a lot of things. I just felt like I was waiting. So I say all that to say, I do think that like I understand why like Lindsay Curry is kind of claimed as the queen of spooky middle grade. I get why a lot of people love her, and I do think I could recommend her books to kids. I just think like personally, I love like her writing. I love her as a person. I think maybe her stories aren't like the specific type of spooky middle grade stories that I want to read all the time. I did read Scritch Scratch, and I liked that one more, and I'm actually going to reread it because I didn't completely finish it when I read it before, because I was reading it for book club and I had to finish it and like talk about it really quick, so I just had to look up spoilers. But I think I do like that one a little bit more. But I don't know, I'm going to try to like read all of her books on audio and figure out which ones I do like and like what it is I like about them. But anyways, this is like very long and ranty, but if you missed the discussion, which at this point it hasn't happened yet, but by the time you guys are watching this, the live show discussion with Lindsay Curry, the Q&A and the book discussion and everything will be live on my channel. So if you missed that, I'll link it down below so you guys can watch back on that and comment if you like. But I also went ahead and started Disappearing House by Allie Melanie Gove. I only got about 20 pages in, so I don't have any thoughts so far, but I do think it's going to be a good one. The main character has cancer. She's like approaching her 5-year cancer diagnosis and is hoping to be declared dead or no evidence of disease. And around this same time, this house has appeared at the end of her street, and I think she's going to go in and face like the scary things in this house, but it's also going to tie in with like what she's going through too. And I love that there's that real element of the story and that real scare factor, because I think that's a very real fear to have in the world. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I will let y'all know more thoughts on that whenever I get more into it. I'm probably going to, so Liv from Olivia from Liv's Library is going live on her Patreon tonight for Reading Sprint. So I'll probably get more into it tonight and I'll report back then. But I just wanted to give you all an update now, and I will check back in with you later. Hello friends, it has been a minute since I updated you. I have not been feeling very creative this Bugathon. I think sometimes that happens with it being like springtime and stuff, and I really want to read spooky books, but I don't have a lot of ideas for creative content. So I apologize in advance if this is just a more chatty, chill vlog with not a lot of content, but I wanted to update y'all on my reading. So I did finish What Lives in the Woods, and I think I chatted about that, but I'll wrap everything up at the end if I didn't. I did start Disappearing House by Ali Maleninko, and I'm almost halfway through, and I'm really loving this one so far. I love how trauma is like represented in this book, and just like anxieties around certain things and how to push through and deal with things. And like the messages already so far, I teared up at one thing at the beginning, and I'm just really loving this one. So that's a good sign. It might be my favorite of the readathon. We shall see. But I did go ahead and read Bunnicula, and this is an adaptation of, or a graphic novel adaptation of the original story of Bunnicula that I read as a kid, and I've also read again as an adult. It's just a really, it's not super spooky, but it's more of like a quirky story about this cat and dog who think that their new pet, well really it's the cat that thinks this, but they think that their new bunny that their family has as a pet is a vampire. And I loved the illustrations in this and how it translated into a graphic novel. And I really hope that they do more of the books in the series in graphic novel format, because I will definitely read it. And I'm surprised, because I thought at most this would get a 4-star from me because it's just an adaptation of a book I've already read, but I'm going to give it 5 stars. It was really, really good. So I would recommend that one, whether or not you've read Bunnicula or not. So I am going to read Disappearing House. I am on reading sprints over here with Hope. Kendall was not able to join tonight, so it's just me and Hope, but we're going to get some reading done. I'm hoping to finish Disappearing House tonight and start my last book, which I may or may not get to it. I have a busy weekend ahead, but I do have The Circus of Stolen Dreams, and I really want to get to this one because I loved Lorelei Sabrin's other book, The Edge of In Between. So we shall see how far I get, but I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of an update. I did not expect to cry this book, but here we are. Okay, I did not update last night on Disappearing House except to show you that I was crying, but I will say that I have never cried in over a spooky middle grade book before, so this is a whole new experience for me. It's absolutely nuts. I really enjoyed that book. I think I'm going to settle on a 4.5-star rating because I liked the beginning and the end, but the middle had a little bit of a lull for me. But I really liked the message of there was a lot of good little one-liners, and there was a really good overall message of the story. I liked how it tied in with real life fears. I always love that. That's one thing I love about spooky middle grade is the tie-in with real life fears, because that to me makes it more scary. And yeah, it was really good. I'm trying to think of what my favorite book has been of the readathon so far. over. I do want to read The Circus of Stolen Dreams by Lorelei Saverin before it's over, but I think I've probably mentioned this a few times in the video. If I haven't, I do have a busy weekend, so I'm not sure how much like I'll be able to read. But if I do, like, I mean, that's always a possibility. I don't think I have a new favorite spooky middle grade book of all time, but I have enjoyed my reads this week. My favorite graphic novel that I read, and my like highest rated book that I've read this week so far, is Bunnicula, the graphic novel. I just feel like that elevated the original story so much for me. To see the visuals of it, it was so well done, and I was actually surprised that I gave it 5 stars, because I thought I would give it maybe a 4, but no, I loved it so much. And it's not like a scary book, it's just kind of quirky, like comedy type scary, like kind of hokey, but I love it. And then of course Disappearing House, I really enjoyed that one. I don't think it's a new all-time favorite, but I do want more people to read that book because I feel like a lot of people would really enjoy it. So I'm gonna see if I can do The Circus of Stolen Dreams this weekend, so you may see another update from me in regards to that, but if not, you will see an update from me at least one more time before the end of the vlog to just kind of wrap up. Like Sunday we have our book discussion and Q&A with Lindsay Curry, and I'm so excited for that, and also a little bit nervous. I think there's always a little bit of nerves with stuff like that, because like, of course authors are just normal people, just like everybody. Like, we're all the same, but it's like, but you wrote books. Like, I don't know, it's just a whole nother thing to pick an author's brain. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It has been a crazy week. I have been really busy. I definitely have felt like my content is not up to par with what I would like for it to be, but I think it's important to remember that, like, for most of us, this is a hobby, and like, while I have gotten monetized and stuff, like, this is still a hobby, and so sometimes I'm gonna feel slumpy, and sometimes I'm gonna be focused on other things, and sometimes I'm gonna really enjoy reading the books like this week, but I just don't have creative ideas for the content. And I think it's hard sometimes for me to, like, I do want to read spooky books in the spring, and that's why I started like a halfway to Halloween Bugathon last year, but I do think I enjoy creating content more for Bugathon in the fall, when there are more fall things I can do to incorporate in the vlogs. Because sometimes for me, I think behind the camera, I'm like, oh, nobody wants to just hear me talk about the books. But then some of you really do enjoy just hearing me talk about the books. So I have to remind myself that, but I also want to do like what I enjoy. Because again, this is my hobby, and I'm doing this because I enjoy it. So I've not done a lot of like related things, related content this week to Bugathon, but I've just been reading the books and keeping you guys updated. And sometimes it is what it is. So I may be taking a little bit of a break the rest of the month. I haven't quite decided yet, so we'll see. I'll make that announcement if it happens, but yeah. So that's kind of how everything's going. Enjoy my reads, enjoy my week. Like I said, busy weekend, so I will check in with y'all again later if I have any more book updates, or just to update y'all about how it goes with Lindsay. Okay, it is time to wrap up the vlog. I just got off of our live stream with Lindsay Curry and Kendall and Hope, and it was so much fun. I'm so glad that we had Lindsay on. It was such a blast. I loved it so much, and I think talking to her about her books and like why she writes and what she incorporates and why and all that stuff is just like, it just makes you appreciate her books even more and understand why she writes what she writes. And one of the things that she mentioned was that she writes like heartwarming horror, and that is what this is, and that is what she writes a lot of. And so I love that. I do tend to lean more on liking more of a hard-hitting horror, like a hard-hitting with like a real-life tie-in, real-life fear, hard-hitting with good life lessons, and hers are more like tie-ins with local legends, so still stuff from real life that I like. And I think Victoria Schwab does that a lot with her City of Ghosts Cassie Blake series, and so I do love that element also, but it is more on the side of like cozy horror or heartwarming horror. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely pick up more of Lindsay's books. I ended up giving this book a 3.5 star, but rated a 4 star on Goodreads. And then the other books that I read, my favorite probably was Disappearing House by Ali Malaninko. I love this one so much. It made me cry. I'm still kind of baffled by that, but it was a really good one nonetheless. I also read Bunnicula, which is the graphic novel adaptation of the childhood favorite of mine that I really loved and gave 5 stars. I think it just really brought the story to life for me. Then one of the first book that I read was Cat's Cradle, The Golden Twine by Joe Rue. I gave this one 4 stars. And this is going to actually fit for my circus prompt or amusement park prompt or whatever, because it does have a circus element in it. So the main character in this book, she is set up with a caravan camp, and it's a circus, which I'm trying to show. You can kind of see a little bit there, but she is part of a circus, and so that is going to count for that prompt for me because, and here it is leaving, like the circus leaving. But it did end up, like I didn't end up getting to the Circus of Stolen Dreams, which really bummed me out because I really think I'm going to love that one, but I just didn't have time. So this is going to fill that prompt for me, which is good because I filled all the prompts. And then while I was at work one day, I decided to listen to an audiobook. So I had this collection called The Legend of Skeleton Man by Joseph Bruchac, and it features Skeleton Man and the Return of Skeleton Man. So I listened to The Skeleton Man, and I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Basically, it is about this girl named Molly who she grew up on the Mohawk Reserve of Aquasansi. I'm probably not saying that right. And her father always told her the story of the Skeleton Man, a gruesome tale about a man with insatiable hunger. And then her parents ended up disappearing, and now she thinks that maybe the Skeleton Man might be a real story. That is the first part. That is Skeleton Man. I did not end up reading The Legend of Skeleton Man because I did think the first one was good, but it just wasn't like my favorite type of spooky middle grade story, so I didn't continue. But if you like scary stories to tell in the dark, and there was something else that this reminded me of. What was it? Goosebumps, which is blurred by R.L. Stine, and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If you like things like that, this definitely has a scare factor, a real scare factor. So I do think it's good in that regard. And 3.5 is a really good rating for me. I just didn't think it was like a new favorite. So I didn't end up reading the second part, but I did complete the book. Not this whole book, but just the first one. So I counted it as read because I did obviously I didn't read that whole book, but I read The Skeleton Man, which is a whole book. That's a compilation. So I counted it. So I ended up reading 5 books for the Readathon, and I'm pretty proud of that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed participating in Bugathon this time around. And thank you again to Lindsay Curry for doing the reel with us and hopping on for the book discussion. That was such a fun time, and we hope to partner with her again in the future. Also, thank you to Kendall and Hope for co-hosting with me. I always love having my friends on. It's just such a good time to have other spooky middle grade lovers that, you hold close to your heart, and they just happen to be some of my best friends. So I love having them on. And yeah, we will have Bugathon again in the fall. So be looking forward to future announcements for that. But until next time, I hope you have a great summer, and we will see you in spooky season. Bye, friends.